Okay, so I didn't record just for reference, I didn't record that I fixed this. If you remember last time, I had a form called Advanced Students where I was trying to make this work. And off camera, I fixed it. Turns out what I did was the query that was behind the subform. So here's the subform, right? Because this is just a form within a form. This query, the data set I used, the record source, I used a query that was not updatable. So because I had a bunch of joins happening and because it was a complex query, it wasn't letting me update. When I made it just a bridge, it actually let me update the records. And then I just, I tied this little drop down to the class ID and then like did all the complex querying within this combo box instead of the forms record source. So that fixed it. And then I just took your students form that you built that I assigned for you and you did, and I just added that sub form in here. So I got rid of my old advanced students from last time that I showed you, and I just put it in here. And since you didn't really create that many bridges, and I've already started adding more, you only did like 20, I'm gonna just make sure a bunch of students have classes. So yeah, we're already on the first record. So
That could actually be the homework.
no, because we need it right now. I'm just gonna go to each student and make sure that each student has classes. And I'm just gonna show you some cool stuff we can do with querying. We just need more classes.
Yeah. Sorry if the internet shuts off randomly again, because it's just a little issue we're having right now.
That's fine. So do you remember what IDs these are, by the way?
I don't know it off the top of my head, no.
Just see if you can tell just by looking at it.
I don't think I could tell by looking at it because I haven't looked at the data that long to be able to tell which ID goes where.
All right, I'm gonna give you a hint. I actually, without even looking behind this form, can tell you what each one is, just because there's like little hints. What does this tell you? All these IDs are the same. Which ID do you think this is in the bridge?
Well, it says 8 for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, it has to be, my guess is that it must be Truman.
Exactly, it's the student ID. Because for all these classes, we're assigning it to this guy. So the only ID that should be all the same is because it's all for the student. So yeah. What do you think these IDs are?
Well, I think those must be classes as well. Now that I think about it, those must be classes as well, because I mean, the whole idea of like having the bridge was to link, one student to multiple classes.
True, but why this could be classes? Why would it not be this?
Well, because I think the only way I know that it's not that classes are, or that classes aren't that. I mean, student, it cannot be student. But the way I know that it's not all classes is because we don't even have that many classes.
True. So there's more hints than that. This is sequential. 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. Every time I create a new one, sequential. So that tells me that's the bridge ID because it's a new ID every time you do it.
Oh, it's the bridge ID. Okay.
Yeah. Also, the other reason I can tell you it's the bridge ID is because this is the new. Whenever you see this little pound, pound, pound or new, it means that that's the main ID on that record. And the main ID for the bridge, which is this connection, is going to be sequential like that. So if we go to the bridge and we look, oops, make that a little smaller. If you go to the bridge and we look, you'll see it's sequential. See?
Yeah.
So I'm like going to just do another class real quick. Calculus. I'm going to come over. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, so if I refresh that, you'll see the calculus class popped in there. Anyway, the point is, I just thought it was interesting, and maybe you would be able to spot that. And you were able to spot students, which is good. All right, so now we've put a bunch of students into classes, right? I'm just going to put some more. We truly have a lot of students, right? So I can't do this all day. We just needed more. The bridge was a little too short. All right, so. All right, bridge is much longer now. If we go to the last record, it says we have 63 records. Oh, that's so much better. So another thing we didn't do yet, which I guess we could do right now. I don't know if I should. So the same way I was able to like say, hey, look, you can give students classes. We can also do a very similar thing for, let me see. We can do a very similar thing in the classes themselves. Okay, so it depends on how we want to do this, right? Let's go to the relationships. Ooh, we don't have very many relationships right now. Okay, this is all we have. We need to make another bridge.
For
We need another
professors and
bridge.
classes?
Exactly, because like, how do we know what professor teaches what class? Like, how would we know that? Like, we don't. Right now, there's no way for us to know who's in charge of what class. Like, we can go to classes, it doesn't help us. So we need some way to connect these professors. Like, there's no way right now, right? Like, how do you know? So,
How do you know what?
how do you know which professors teach what classes? There's like,
Well, there's no way to know. I mean, all we have is one table. We haven't linked anything yet.
Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna create another table to link them. I'm gonna call it, I'm gonna save, I'm gonna call it bridge classes professors. Like classes and professors, or professors classes, it doesn't matter how you name it. And we know that we're gonna have the, what do we call this ID? What do we call it in the other table? Class student bridge ID? Yeah, so we're gonna do something similar over here. We're gonna call this one class professor ID. Yeah. And it's gonna be auto number, and then we're gonna have a professor. Did I spell that right? It's 1F, right? Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's 1F. Oh no, wait. I should have named this differently. Oh, no, I did this right. Class ID, professor ID. These are just gonna be integers. We need numbers. Did I do number on the other one? I like to keep it very consistent. Did I do number over here? Yes, I did number, okay. All right, so for this next bridge, cool. We now have a way to link the two. Okay, cool. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring that bridge in, bridge professors classes. And do you remember what we did last time here?
Not exactly. I haven't seen that video in a while.
All right, so for the bridge, I just connected the class ID to the class ID in the bridge and said, oh yeah, and I think I also said enforce referential integrity. I'm pretty sure I said that. And create. Then I bring the professor ID to the professor ID in the bridge, enforce referential integrity, and create. There, now they're linked.
And now they're all linked, looks like.
Now they're all linked. So yes, that's actually a very good point. And that's actually going to tell us something really interesting, or that's going to actually help us do something really interesting. And can you guess what that might be?
I
now that
think
all of it's linked?
I'm actually not sure what it'll do, but give me a second to think. I might be able to figure it out.
Go ahead and think about it, and I'll tell you the answer. And here's a hint. So when we first made this bridge, we were able to understand the relationship between classes and students, right? So now that we've made this other bridge, we can determine what?
Well, what professor goes to which class?
Correct. But now you made a very interesting observation. Now that all of them are linked, what then can you tell me?
I can tell you which professor goes to which class and which student goes to which class.
Right. So then by knowing what professor has what class and what class has what students, I can also tell you what professors have what students.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you can tell that. And you can even tell how many classes they have that student.
How?
Okay, glad you asked. Yeah, it seems confusing, but whenever you have a way to trace things like this and there's a line you can draw, and right now this is a very simple thing. It's just 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. Sometimes it's like a spider web, okay? But whenever you have tables linked, you can tell information about different things. So let me give you an example. Let's say Professor, who do we have? We'll take Professor Smith. Yeah, these names are hard. I don't know why I made these names what they are. Xenobiologist, what? All right, anyway. Professor Smith over here. Let's say Professor Smith, we give him like a bunch of classes. Let's say he just teaches like all these classes. And you know what? Maybe I should make the form so it'll be even more obvious. We'll do that next. But the point is, let's say Professor Smith teaches like half the classes, right? Okay,
Yeah.
well, we know that because we know what classes he has. Let's say the students, like half the students are in like only those classes that he has and none of the other classes. Well, you can tell that because since you know what classes these students are in and you know what professor has each of those classes, you can then look up what students that professor has because you know what classes he has. Okay, so think about it logically. Don't think about it in terms of programming. Think about it like this. If I asked you, hey, what's a teacher you know in real life? Just give me a last name.
Hold on, I know one. Spandikow.
Standikow?
Spandikow.
Okay, let's just pretend his name is Smith. Let's say, I can't pronounce that.
It's an actual, yes, for an actual teacher.
Okay,
That was an actual teacher.
Fair. I asked for that. Let's say his name is Professor Smith, or her name is Professor Smith. If I told you right now you have access to their roll sheets for all the classes they have, would you be able to tell me what students they have?
You said if I had the role, like we're not talking about data, we're talking about paper.
Let's just say paper. Like you just went to the teacher right now and say, show me all your papers. Could you then know what classes that or what students that professor has?
Well, I mean, if you saw all their papers, yeah, but it would take a freaking eternity.
Yeah, it would, except we have the magic of querying, so it's not going to take us an eternity. Now, but tell me in real life, how would you know what students that professor has?
I could just look at like they do attendance every day. I could look at their attendance sheet and be like, like what student does this have? And I'm pretty sure. Well, here's the thing. I know not all teachers. I mean, all teachers do roll call, but I know not all teachers have all the students' information when they like in their roll call records. I mean, maybe they do. I don't know.
They do.
But
I mean, those records sometimes change, but they have those records.
Well, yeah. Well, on paper, like you were saying, on paper it would take forever. And you were saying, how could I figure that out?
Yes. So, like, what papers would you look at that belong to the teacher that would tell you?
Attendance would be number one. Attendance for that specific class.
Oh, okay. So for what exactly? Attendance for what?
Class ID.
So by looking at a paper about that class, attendance, you're looking at a paper about that class, you could tell me what students they have.
I should be able to.
Correct. So if I ask you, is John in that class? Would you be able to tell me if you had access to these papers?
Yes, I would, unless there was another John and there was like another person with the same exact name.
Sure.
And that would be a little more difficult.
Well, that's kind of what we're doing. That's how you're able to tell what professors have what students. You're looking at the classes that have students. You're looking at class information. So you're basically tying three things together. And you can see we already built the relationship. Since you know what professors have what classes and you know what classes have what students, you know then what students that professor has.
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah. I see you're having a little trouble grasping that. See, it's not hard for you to understand when you're thinking about it as attendance because this is something you've seen like your entire life. But you have to think about this as really just connected data. Since you know what classes a professor has, and you know what students are in that class, you then know what professors or what students that professor has because you know that from the class information.
Yeah,
that's all I've been saying.
Oh, I'm just a little confused.
You have to think about it in that particular way. Because you've linked this, you now can link these two, professor and student.
Okay.
So even though professors don't have students, they don't. I mean, like in the literal sense, yes, they do, right? You have a professor, they have a bunch of students. In the data though, professors don't ever have students. This data, professor is never gonna link to student through a bridge. Instead, it's gonna link to classes and classes are gonna link to students.
Oh, so it's kind of like that diagram you showed me a while back, like professors over classes over students.
Yes, correct. It's like a little tree.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So is that pretty clear somewhat?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to close this now. So last time you did a very simple query. I can't remember what query I gave you, but I think I told you to go to what? Queries, right?
Query design, yes.
Design. Okay. Well, I'm trying to be consistent here. And how did I tell you? What did I tell you to do?
You told me to. This was last week, right?
Yes.
Oh, geez. I believe you told me to make the query to make a proper bridge, depending on what information we need.
Right. We were trying to figure out information. What I think the question I asked you was, for this particular class, what students are in it? Right. I think I asked you something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
And then I think I also asked you, okay, for this particular student, what classes do they have? And you were able to answer that.
Oh, yeah, I remember now. I remember what
Right.
I did, what we did.
And you were able to answer that because you knew what the relationship between, let me just go back to relationships. I guess I should close it a little too early. So forget about this. This is new. Just by having this information, you were able to answer that question for me using plain English, just by reading the bridge table. You were able to say, yeah, I can figure out for you what students are in this class. And I can figure out for you what students have what classes, because you just understood this relationship. Do you understand this relationship?
Yes, yes.
Between professors and classes. So if I were to ask you, hey, read this bridge, oh, I guess we didn't add any records to it. Let's pretend that there were records. If I asked you to read this bridge, would you be able to tell me what professors had what classes?
I don't think so because we haven't queried it yet.
Well, yeah, we haven't. Let's just pretend that I've already filled all these in.
Yeah, we should be able to tell what professors have which classes just based off the ID alone.
Exactly. So I'm just making sure you remember the lesson of last week, because that was the lesson of last week, how to answer that question. Oops, what did I just do? I think I accidentally deleted something. Hold on a second, I just reload that. I think I deleted the relationship. Oh, no, it's still there. All right, so this time what we're gonna do is we're gonna take it a step further. I'm gonna have you answer a question that's way more complicated. But before we do that, we need bridge records. So I just created this. I forgot I just created this. So we're gonna have to fill this up. And I'm gonna just make some constraints. I'm not gonna really teach you about that yet. And I was supposed to do that here too. So I'm just gonna do that really quick. We were supposed to make some constraints. Actually, don't forget about that. And we didn't do it last time, so we're going to do it this time. No, that's not what I'm looking for. I want, no, it's not what I want right now. I don't know if I can set a hybrid key. Let me just check really quick. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, but I don't want to do that yet. Let's not do that right now. What I want to do, all right. We'll do this the easy way for now. I'm just going to have a way to, I can't add constraints, can I? I need constraints. No, it's not in there. All right, I forgot how to make constraints. So I think now's a good time for a quick break. And then we'll go into the complicated query, because we've already been going for a little while. Yeah, so I'm gonna look up how to do constraints really quick in Access, and you go ahead and come back in like maybe 5 minutes. Yeah, 17.
I'll be right back.
All right.